welcome to Richmond. I'm sorry you're not feeling well. I hope you feel better while you're here so you can check out some of the great restaurants we have here in Richmond. I wanted to ask you, for some of us who watched both Buffy and Angel, we felt that the character of Spike on Angel was so different from how Spike had been on Buffy, and I wondered if that made it, if the writing of Spike for Angel was frustrating for you in playing the character, because it seems like there was some differences to how Spike was on Angel and to Buffy.
Well, the writers were the same on both shows. What I enjoyed about going on Angel is I could once again mess with the lead. That was it's the great thing about playing villains in general, especially, I'm a subversive artist, and it always sticks in my craw. Politically, you have to be so kind to the lead all the time. Even if they're a nice person and not taking their position seriously, you have to be all like, okay, you can have my chair. Can I get you a sandwich? All this stuff. And then when they call action, you're mine. And the thing about, I got to do that with Buffy, but then I fell in love with Buffy, so then I was always getting her chair and getting her sandwich. When they said action, it was kind of frustrating. And so when I went over on Angel, that was one of the great things was, I just got to mess with Angel. You just try to make him cry all the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What was your? I'm interested though. What was your perception of the character? For me, I thought that it was like being let out of the box. To be a jerk again.
Well, not in every episode, but some episodes it seems like Spike was a caricature rather than a fully realized character on Angel.
No, it's just a dick.
Well, maybe we had gotten to change our expectations too much by the end of Buffy and weren't expecting. Well, Spike didn't come back as evil really on Angel so much as he came back as being sort of a thorn in Angel's side. But
there wasn't going to be a lot of heartfelt moments.
Well, no, obviously, because the one thing that Spike felt heartfelt about was no longer there. So of course. But I don't know. It just seemed a little bit too jokey. I guess that's it.
I like it.
Okay, I guess I'm being too deep.
Hi there.
Hey, I'm so sorry you're sick, and thank you so much for doing this for the fans. This has just been very special today. I'm going to ask you a band-related question. When does Bourgeois Faux Pas come out?
Bourgeois Faux Pas is going to be out for Christmas for sure. Yeah. And we are I think Hello is the first single. You can get that on iTunes, and I think Bad is the second single, and that's going to be dropping real soon. Yeah.
Thanks.
That's, by the way, Ghost of the Robot on iTunes or Amazon, and it's 99 cents a download, so you have no excuse. Okay.
How you doing today?
I'm fabulous.
So speaking of embarrassing stories, there is a embarrassing story that I actually heard from a herd. Your work on Torchwood, there was a scene with you and Captain Jack. Supposedly you had to do that take several times.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little bit of that story? Of I heard it was a practical joke.
You came in late, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, that was the very first question.
I'm asking again.
For you. No, the only reason we had to do it, usually it's 2 takes for television, but my fiance was directing the kiss, so she would always say, that was really a good take, but do it again. And the director was on the floor laughing. It's like, go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
It was fun. It was fun.
Hi, really big fan. I enjoyed all of your work from the different TV series that you've been on. And I am really sorry that you were sick. I hope you get better soon. My question is about Spike, but it's not really about him himself. It's about his accent.
Yeah.
The fact that he's British. And how exactly did you have to prepare for a role like that? Also, I was deeply brokenhearted whenever I found out you were actually from America.
Thanks a lot.
I mean, you just really crushed me there.
I'm from wherever you pay me to be from. Yeah, they're depressed about it in England too. I'm going to London next week, and they always say the same thing. They're like, give us your sexy British accent. I'm like, what's wrong with the American one? And they're like, it's not so hot, really.
Okay, thank you.
But generally, I got cast. They had been looking for a Spike for months, and they didn't find anybody. So they were 3 days away from filming, and they scraped the bottom of the garbage can and found me. And so I didn't have a big prep time for that accent. So the beginning of it is not so perfect. And I remember Tony Head coming up to me, and he had it. He's like, we don't say it like that, we're proud. You need some help. And he really schooled me for about 6 months until I got it decently down. And then I went to London, because it's a specific English accent. It is from a specific neighborhood within the sound of the bells, which is, if it's Cockney, you have to be born within the sound of the bells, which is a church steeple. And so you have to go there and you got to talk to people. And then after that, then it got to be pretty tight.
That was just amazing how you were able to do it so well, and really enjoyed it.
I tried hard.
Yes, it was obvious.
The main
It was
problem
obvious,
is that English
especially-
people talk so quick.
Yeah.
They talk so fast, like on Buffy, and Buffy be like, well, Spike, I think we should go get a sandwich. Right? And I would have to just go, blah, 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 and I got to know my lines so well. I just wanted to be an American again. So,
You did an amazing job.
Thank you. Well, you also wrote Spike Into the Light, the recent graphic novel that came out. Is it difficult writing in an accent? The dialogue, not as if he's sitting there. I think you know what my question is. Behave, Richmond.
no, actually, that was one of the fun thing about that. Is it all just kind of, it all just fell out.
Yeah.
It was very, very easy. Yeah. I'd had the script in my head for years. It was supposed to be a television movie. Joss had come to me and said that he wanted to do a Spike TV movie. And I was like, cool, man. What do you want to do? He goes, I don't know. I have no ideas. I got one line from a movie as a touchstone. I was like, cool, what is it? And he's like, it's Aragorn from the third Tolkien movie. I have no hope for myself. And I was like, okay, that's really depressing. And he's like, well, what do you have? I said, actually, I have a great idea. And I told him the idea. The idea was basically that Spike has a soul, but he doesn't yet know what to do with it. And he can't, he's homeless and he's starving to death because he can't steal his food anymore. He can't kill anybody for a place to live. But he's not going to get a damn job. So he's really kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, and I was wanting him to kind of go through that, try to transition from being evil to being a good person, vampire or whatever, but not retread angel.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to have him in like mansions staring at fireplaces and brooding. You gotta figure out something else to do. So the comic book was my idea, but I had to do that.
Available now, Dark Horse Comics, Spike Into the Light.
Well, the person before me, Lesser, stole my question. So here's an but thank you so much for coming and for being so awesome, even being ill. So, but actually, since we're talking about the graphic novels, do you have a favorite issue of like Buffy season 8, 9, or 10?
No, I'm just glad that they're being made. I mean, Joss has tried to get a lot of different projects with these characters going over the years, and he always gets stymied by the original producers of the first film, the Kazuis, who apparently are really nice people, but they always ruin it. They always ask for control or a lot of money, and it always just flies apart. So Joss has given up, and but he still has a lot of ideas for that universe and those characters, and that's why he's continuing to write comic books. Yeah, those are all the stories that would have been. He would have put off all of us through all of that.
Giant Dawn.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so the first question is probably part of this too, but I know you best from the Buffy Angel universe.
Yeah.
And with Juliet and with Sarah and even with David, you have an incredible one-on-one chemistry when it comes to the people that you're in a scene with. And I was curious, who did you feel it the most with in any of your things? What actor or actress that, you know that chemistry is happening right there in that scene?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you want to try to have chemistry with whatever actor you're acting with, and most of that is just listening really carefully so they can affect you. But I think I always said that the original part of Spike, the really nasty punk rocker subversive part of the character, was Julia Landau, and there was that part of the character was never on film unless Julia was on the soundstage. So this is pure Spike, the original idea, that's Julia. Plus others.
All right, cool. Thank you.
How you doing? Thanks for coming to Richmond.
Hey, man, my pleasure.
Hope you're feeling better.
Yeah.
First thing, I just want to make a quick comment. You're like the king of the nerd genre shows, it seems, because you've been in Smallville, Caprica, Torchwood, obviously Buffy.
Witches of East End, which has like a big fan culture right now. See, yeah.
I really think you should be Kath. They got to find a role for you in the new Star Wars. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I was already Captain Argaius in the Clone Wars.
True. Just
Yeah.
the voice.
I tried to get Lucas. I went up to his house in 1977 with a letter because he invited. I saw the original, the very first showing of Star Wars ever to any audience in 1977 at the North Point Theater in San Francisco, and I lived in the town next to him. He lived in San Rafael. I lived in San Anselmo. So he invited all the drama nerds to go watch the movie, and I remember waiting in the North Point Theater for 3 hours and nothing happened, and he finally came down and said, "I'm so sorry to make everybody wait, but we were editing the film. We just finished it in the projection booth." So nobody like warned me or anything. I was 13 years old. So like I went to school and I was trying to tell people what I just saw, and they just watched Serpico, right? They thought I was insane. Like, there's robots, and there's this big Wookiee, and I thought it was my movie, and then it came out and it hit big, and I wrote him a letter that said, George, this is an important movie. You're using old myth. This stuff is thousands of years old, these stories. So they're not, you've done well, but they're not your stories. Don't cheapen them with a bunch of toys. So don't breakfast cereal this out, because you're going to convince everybody that it's just for kids. And actually these stories are for everybody, so don't sell toys. And his secretary wrote me back months later saying, George wanted me to let you know that you're wrong. The toys will be really, really good toys, don't worry.
And allow him to make the other movies, really. Like,
that's the irony of
control it.
Yeah, because he didn't make any money off of directing the films. He got 100% of the merchandising, and that's where his empire is built on.
So the main question I had was, recently this cable channel Pivot has brought out, they've gotten the rights to show the remastered and high definition Buffy. They just started airing that, and I was wondering, as an actor, some actors don't like to go back and watch their prior work or what they've done, and I'm just wondering, do you subscribe to that, or do you like to go back and check it out? And are you going to see what you look like once they've done it in high definition?
Fast forward to your parts.
Blah blah blah, my line. No, I've seen I've seen episodes every once in a while, and I'm like, hey man, that's pretty good. I don't have that. I enjoy watching Buffy. I think it's a really well written show, and the further I get away from it, the more I can appreciate it as a whole. It's a good show.
Thank you.
My daughter's gonna kill me. It's her birthday today. But I actually had a legit question I wanted to ask, and I wanted to say thank you for making it for her birthday.
Right on.
I've embarrassed her all week, and I thought Green Arrow was Daryl from Walking Dead, and she immediately posted, I've embarrassed her all weekend, but thank you for being here. My question is, since you play, as you say, such a dick, And I actually just caught what I'd say is my favorite episode yesterday, when we were on our way here, which was the You Couldn't Bite.
Couldn't bite Willow.
Couldn't bite Willow. And so now I promised her we're starting from number 1, going through the whole thing again, just because I was so in love with you in that. But, okay, now my question is, since you were such a dick, are you a romantic in real life, and how did you propose to your wife? Was it anything special, or just run-of-the-mill?
I don't think there's anything, there's no such thing as a run-of-the-mill proposal. It's a huge deal or anything. I'm a romantic, very much. And I proposed on a cobblestone street in Trier, Germany. To my wife. Yeah. And that hurts, but if I had to do it over again, I wouldn't be a cobblestone. Going down was easy. Coming back up with any pride at all is...
I love these, man.
My question's a Buffy question too. The episode Once More with Feeling is my favorite, but I'm just thinking, I know you're in a band, it's your musical, and I'm not trying to do a vampire pun, but did you feel like you were selling your soul going from the normal Spike character to singing and kind of dancing in a graveyard and things like that? Like, what was that like?
We were so far through the looking glass already. Josh said he was doing a musical. We were like, you are insane. You're ruining the show, and it's all over, and all of our careers are over, and we've gone insane. And at some point, we all decided, look, if we're going to go out, we're going to go out with a bang, and we're going to try the best we can and make this thing, try to sell it. So, but no, I thought it was a blast. Yeah, no, I don't think it was selling out at all. I think it was very, very brave, bordering on stupidity.
Well, at least the Spike songs were still kind of rock songs, so it wasn't so bad.
Yeah, exactly. It was a lot. The basic chord progression was a bit like Nirvana, actually.
And now every show has to have a musical episode. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
How do, sir? That's my very pregnant wife, and she just wants to be able to go home and say she talked to you today. So thank you for that, but I do have a question for you. To do all over again, they walk up to you today and say, will you pick up Spike again? You do it?
What, me now?
Yeah, now. Would you play it again?
You know, I told Joss that he had 7 years to film me. After Angel came down, I said, look, if you ever want to work with me again, I don't care where I am on planet Earth, you call me, I'll come. But if you want me to play Spike, you have 7 years to get it done. Because Spike doesn't age, and I do.
Brother, I feel you.
Yeah, and so, you know, there are interesting computer programs that'll make you look younger. And that's always interesting. The only way that it could be done, or if they did a movie where I never come out of vamp face is an idea, but basically I just like the thing is I don't want to ruin it, you know, and I'm getting older, so do like a Phyllis Diller kind of seriously die.
The second question is from my son who won't get up here, but if Spike hadn't come along, if that role hadn't come along, same course of action for you? Always going to be an actor? Always going to still move in that direction?
From 4th grade on.
So
my plan was I had a son. I was producing theater in Chicago and then in Seattle, and very successfully. But there's no money in that. So when I had a son, this thought went off in my head: go to Los Angeles, whore yourself out. Your son did not decide to be a poor artist. You're very happy doing this, but he's not going to be. So I was supposed to. By the way, I'm having hard candy. If you have a sore throat, don't have anything. Don't go with Halls or any of the cough drops that are out there because they have menthol in them, and menthol will actually make you cough more. Menthol it will slightly clear your nasal passages, but they put menthol in it so that they can say medicated and make you think that it's going to do something good for you. But in reality, it'll do something bad for you. So that's it. When you have a sore throat.
It's like a public service announcement.
I know. It's got health advice.
You're welcome, Richmond.
I just want to thank you first of all because since I've kind of followed you around, I discovered two of the best television series I ever knew and never would have known about, which are Caprica and Torchwood. I can't believe the gangs of Caprica after you. It's crazy. Totally different subject. I heard you say some time ago that you used to tend bar for Keith Richards.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm a diehard Stones freak. So the statute of limitations has run. There must be stories.
I could never understand a word Keith said. It was really loud. I was up in a mezzanine bar, and he would just be like, if I could just, I forget what the drink I used to give him. I forget what I used to serve him, but he was friendly, but I just couldn't understand a word he said. But he was, it wasn't like shooting heroin up at the bar.
Is it like 54?
That was the Hard Rock Cafe on 54th Street. It was back when there was only 2 Hard Rocks in the world. There was the one in London, which was the original one, and they opened the second one in Manhattan in the mid-'80s. And so it was a big deal. That was big. Before there was a Hard Rock everywhere. That Hard Rock was the jamming place, and all the stars staying would come there, and I would be the little bartender for the parties that were always roped off. So I always got to serve all the celebrities and stuff. It was cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it used to be a thing. Now I know you've been standing in line, but I'm gonna make a request. Just so we can get through a couple other people that haven't asked questions, can you just hop at the back of the line? Just because we are running out of time, so.
Hi, my name's Sarah. At my school, I had a professor who taught a Buffy course, and we did a panel, and one of the things we talked about was, trigger warning here, Seeing Red, which is one of the hardest episodes of Buffy to get through. Spike actually did a lot of questionable stuff. He has Buffy bot, and you just, even though he has no soul, and you forget, like Spike, I was, horrible, like a Spike apologist, I was just like, I love Spike so much. I started watching because of Spike, and it gets through, so now I watched it the other day, and my dad was in the room, and I was like, Dad, you have to leave the room, you have to leave the room, you can't get through this part. And so how hard was it for you to film that, and what is the reaction that you got? I'm sure you've had this question before, but what is the reaction that you got? I thought it was very tasteful, well done scene. It wasn't unnecessarily shock factory, just there for no reason. It was a very real moment where you see that Buffy is a vulnerable person, and it's not just to violence from the bad guys that she punches, it's from the people in her life, the domestic violence kind of aspect of that, and the non-consensual aspect of that. So what was that experience like for you? What was your mind frame? Did you have a hard time reading that script? Did you have a hard time with it all around?
Yeah, that was the hardest day of my professional life.
Right.
I can't watch scenes like that. If I know it's in a movie, I won't go see the movie. If I see it on television, I'll turn it off before I break the television.
Right.
I remember going to set. Steve DeKnight had written that episode. I remember passing him on my way into the set, and I was like, Steve, sometimes you don't realize what you are putting us through. I remember when my first shot of that sequence, I just came in the door, and I have a whiplash on this side, and it just went off. It just went like a loud pop because I was so tense, and I just fell to the floor and it went downhill from then on. It was horrible.
Right.
What I will say is that in Joss's world, vampires are metaphors for all of the things that you have to overcome as you go between childhood and adulthood. That horrible terrain of adolescence, where you realize that your parents don't know everything, the world is messed up, your teachers barely understand what they're telling you. How do you face all of that and not give up? Either give up on yourself or give up on the world. And Joss was always very uncomfortable with fans reacting positively to my character because I did not have a soul. He saved Angel by giving him a soul, so Angel was the exception. But before I had a soul, Joss was always trying to remind the audience this is an evil character. And then you guys came, we don't care. It drove him crazy. I had a son that I was trying to feed. So I never told Josh this, but I was like, you can write whatever you want, my man. How the audience relate, and I'll do whatever you say, but how the audience relates to me, that's my wheelhouse. And the audience is not going to give up on me, no matter what you make me do, because I need a job. So, the other thing to say is that the writers on Buffy were being asked to do something very brave. They were asked to take their worst day, the day that they were humiliated or hurt, or the day that they hurt or humiliated someone for no good reason, the day that they regret, and slap fangs on top of it and tell the world about their pain every single week. They would come down to the soundstage and they would just be cringing, wondering if you understood exactly what they were really writing about. The writer that came up with that storyline where Spike tries to force himself on Buffy was a female, and she had a life experience where the male broke up with her, and she went to his house and thought if they just sleep together one more time, everything will be all right. And so she really kind of forced herself on him until he had to physically say, "Get off me." And since Buffy is a superhero character, and has the physical ability to push Spike off literally through the wall, they thought it would be inappropriate. They thought that switching the sexes of that would be appropriate. I didn't feel that way. I thought that switching the sexes turned it into a whole different thing. But that wasn't my department, and I had to do the scene. Yeah, that was not a good day for me. It sent me into therapy, which actually turned out to be a good thing. You know, I'm a happier person because of that, but it split me open.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right, we have about 7 minutes left, 3 questions, so I want to get through these, but help me by being concise, okay?
That's to me.
I have a tough question to follow now. Okay, so my biggest question was, I was watching this episode of Angel, and the only one that cracks me up so much is the one where he turned into a puppet. And I just want to ask, what was it like fighting with a puppet? Because that scene, I was watching that scene on the way up here, and I was dying laughing in the car. I was like, I need to focus on driving, and I can't because I can't stop laughing. He's a bloody puppet man. I just want to know, what was it like fighting with a puppet?
I was beating myself up with that puppet. I had the sticks, so I was going. It was wonderful, you know. I mean, that episode was written by Ben England, who wrote The Tick, which, if you guys want to go watch, an incredible TV series, a half-hour animation about mediocre superheroes. And so I was waiting for that script all year, and it came out, and I was only in one little scene, and I went up to Ben, and I was like, Ben, man, what? I'm not going to be funny, you know? And he's like, don't worry, you will steal this episode. I designed it that way. Okay. And yeah, he's right. I had to work for half an hour the whole week. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, my question's regarding Buffy, the Hush episode. How difficult was that to do almost a whole episode where nobody spoke the entire time? It's one of my favorites, but it's just so impressive how it all turned out.
That was Joss showing off. They would tell Joss, "Oh, you're such a genius because you're so funny, or because your dialogue is so snappy." You know, so he did an episode where there were no jokes at all. He did the body. It's like, by the way, I'm a genius because I'm a genius, not because of any specific thing. So he was tearing away. Anytime, you know, the press would tell him why he was so successful, he would just go be successful by not doing that. And Hush was an example of like, okay, I'll just do one with no dialogue. But he directed it, and it was just amazing when you don't have any language to tell the story. The specificity of action for all the beats and moments gets incredibly complex. And it was actually, he needed, you know, you usually need about 2 takes before you can move on for any setup. And that was more like 7 takes, because all of, it was all pantomime, all little looks to one place or another, trying to tell the story with little language. And I was in heaven, because I always enjoyed when, a lot of times the television directors don't really say much, because we know our characters already, and a lot of it works, they don't have to do much. But Joss, when he came in to direct, he was always very specific, and never more than in that episode. It was like nothing was good enough. It was like a little bit, just one hair less time, then look, just trying to get it perfect. And it was great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Hi. A great question to end on, a lady in a Buffy shirt. No, yeah, you're going to ask a question. I'm just saying, it's a good time.
Actually, I had 2, but I'll just ask one.
Thank you.
Even though it's really short. So there's an episode of Angel. Spike is talking to Illyria and talking about Angel can't suffer intimates. And Spike says, well, that's good, because me and Angel have never been intimate, except that one, and he lets it drag off. And that, I stood up and cheered. What do you think that meant exactly? Can you tell us?
Life is long when you live 180 years.
Cheat. I like the foursome they had for a while there. I just wanted you to confirm that for me.
And on that note, Richmond, I know it's supposed to happen yesterday, but what a great way to wrap up the time. Big thanks to Mr. James Marsters. And Richmond, you're awesome. Thank you, guys.